Here we go. 2023 Stanley Cup playoff preview and predictions. I'm at a neutral site here, as you can see. There's no bias here, especially from me. So let's get right into this. I got my notes here below me. Colorado Avalanche versus the Seattle Kraken. Colorado 109 points versus Seattle's 100 points. Ooh. Season series. Colorado went 1-1-1. Seattle went 2-0-1. There you go. Not too bad. Seattle has the slight advantage there in the season series. But if we're going to break this down, offensively, goes to Colorado. Have you seen what Nathan MacKinnon did? Drew Livingston on Twitter has showed that, Nathan MacKinnon, 77 even strength points this year, and he's played only 60-something games, and, he's better than everyone else, and I'm going to be honest, most nights he is. We saw what he did against Nashville, right? He's absolutely brilliant. But at the same time, let's give Erik Karlsson a little shout out there with 74 even strength points as a defenseman playing for San Jose. Anyway, though, Nathan MacKinnon, absolute stud. Offense. Oh, and then Rantanen scored 50 goals, and he has the most goals for Colorado since Joe Sakic. Yeah, they're good. They're good. Shushkin was like a point per game too, and he missed part of the season. Defense, I'm going Colorado as well. You got Makar. You got Taze. Byram's playing like he's an absolute animal out there. Eric Johnson. The list goes on and on. Colorado has it on D. Goaltending, Colorado as well. This year, Georgiev comes in, plays absolutely great. Why will this Colorado team absolutely decimate Seattle in 4 games? Yes, 4 games. One, just wrote Nathan MacKinnon versus Seattle in their defensive zone. Have I watched a lot of Seattle games? No, I'm going to be honest with you. I watched Toronto play against them. And Seattle were not good in front of their goalies. Jones will struggle. Grubauer will struggle. It's going to be a struggle. When Colorado gets set up in there, it's going to be just like, who wants to score, boys? And that's how I think it's going to be. I think Colorado's going to win in 4. And next on the docket, let's go Winnipeg versus Vegas. No, we should say Vegas versus Winnipeg because Vegas is the top team. Vegas, 111 points. Winnipeg, 95 points. They got in. Season series, Vegas 3-0-0 versus Winnipeg's 0-2-1. Okay, so they lost 1 in OT. Offense, I'm going to Vegas. That lineup is killer. Now Winnipeg has some good players. You got your Wheeler, your Scheifele, your Eulers, your Kyle Connors. But Vegas has line 1, 2, 3, and then don't forget they got that guy named Phil Kessel who somehow just shows up in the playoffs and he does miraculous things. He'll do it again. Defense, I'm going Vegas as well. Goaltending, I'm going Winnipeg. Why? Hellebuck. He can steal you some games. And in this series, he's going to steal just 1 game. 1. Yep, because I have Vegas winning here in 5 games, all because of returns. Now, a Leaf fan, I know with the cap, Toronto tries to use it, but Vegas, those boys use it well. Stone will be back. Well, that's a difference maker. Shea Theodore on defense will be back. Well, that's a big difference maker. Jack Eichel will be back. Another difference maker. Yep. Eichel might have already come back. I don't know. Douche Vegas. You learned well from Tampa. Vegas in 5. While we're out west, we'll stick out west and we'll go Stars versus Wild. Yes, the Dallas Stars versus the Minnesota Wild. Dallas, 108 points. Minnesota, 103 points. Season series, Dallas 2-0-2 versus the Wild's 2-2. Offensively, I'm giving this to Dallas. That lineup right now, you got Robertson there, you got Pavelski playing great. They added Domi, who I think is just like wanting that playoff, like give me it. You got Sagan and Ben getting like that, what seems like a last kick of the can, but they've kind of found their game again. Versus Minnesota, which like you look at their team and there's some good guys on there. Zuccarello, Bold, you've got Kaprizov, you've got Eriksson Ek, but you don't have that actual punch. Like, Kaprizov's brilliant. He can score, he can do it all. But does he have the additional firepower that Dallas does? In my opinion, no. I think Dallas offensively through the lineup is stronger. Defense, split. Okay. I don't really know. I don't know. I haven't watched enough games for them. Seen both teams play. I've seen maybe a handful, 1, 2, 3 of each, and I don't know how it's going to match up. Klingberg being on the third pairing kind of scares me defensively. Offensively, that's cool, but defensively, so I'm just going to keep them as split. And that's the same thing as goaltending. I'm going to keep it split. And that's just because of the unknown. I don't know what Minnesota's going to do. Like for Dallas, Ottinger's going to be there. He had a 919 this season. But then for Minnesota, like Fleury had a winning record, but a 908 save percentage. Gustafsson had a winning record and a 931 save percentage. Who do you go with? If Minnesota goes with Fleury, I think Ottinger outplays him, if I'm going to be honest with you. To go with Gustafsson, you have the unknown there. Ottinger came in last year in the playoffs, played phenomenally. We saw him against Calgary, just blew everyone's mind, almost stole that series. Could Gustafsson do that for Minnesota here? In my opinion, no, it's going to be the same thing, but Ottinger's going to get the win this year. Gustafsson, if he plays, Fleury if he plays, doesn't matter. They're going to lose. I'm leaning that Gustafsson's going to play majority of the series, but Dallas will win in 7. Minnesota will just come up shy. Stay with the West then, and we have Edmonton versus LA again. Edmonton 109 points, LA 104. Season series 2-2 for both. Okay, 2 wins, 2 losses. Offense, Edmonton. Connor McDavid, 153 points, 64 goals. And that's with taking like the last few games to just kind of chill. Right? He's like, got the scoring title, cool. Points, well, I've had that for the last few months. That was a guarantee. You know what? I'm just going to, wade my way into the playoffs. He's just going to wade his way in. And then don't forget Draisaitl was up there too with number 2 in scoring. LA had, other scorers there, Fiala and whatnot. But when you have guys like, you have 3 guys over 100 points, and then you have Zach Hyman with a point per game, oh, that's scary. That's scary for Edmonton. Defense here, before the trade deadline, I would have picked LA. But after the trade deadline, and what Mattias Ekholm has brought to the Edmonton Oilers is nuts. He is exactly what they needed. He is freaking phenomenal. I have it split now. I would have leaned to LA, but I have it split, and the difference maker there is Ekholm. So we then go to goaltending. And here, I put Edmonton by the numbers, because LA's numbers aren't very good. But then you look at, okay, who's going to start for Edmonton? It shouldn't be Jack Campbell. His numbers aren't good. But Stuart Skinner's are. And then you have Korpisalo. So remember, LA kicked off quick. Korpisalo comes in, and he plays really well. So we're like, what kind of Korpisalo are we going to get? So it's a big question mark for me. So I put it as a question mark. So I guess this is split, because really it depends how Skinner adapts to the playoffs, and then what kind of Korpisalo are we getting. In the end, though, I have Edmonton winning in 6, and Connor McDavid gets 20 points in 6 games just to show up the other Connor Bedard, who had 20 points in 7 games in a losing effort in round 1. McDavid's going to win in 6 and get us 20 points. Let's go to the East, shall we? We're going to start with Boston, Florida. Boston, 135 points, set the wins record, points record, absolute stud of a team all year. Florida squeaks in because Pittsburgh didn't want to win, and that was basically it. Florida, 92 points. Season series, 2-1-1 for Boston, 2-2 for Florida against each other. But here we go. Offense, Boston, all the way through. Sure, Florida, you have your Barkov, hey, he can score. You got Kachuk getting 100-plus points, setting a record for himself. But Boston, from first line to second line to third line to fourth line, they all have a role and they play it well. And it's just a massive cohesive unit. They know when I'm out, this is what I'm going to do. If I'm on the penalty kill, I'm this. If I'm on the power play, I'm this. If I'm coming on after the power play, I'm doing this. Offense, Boston. Defense, Boston. Goaltending, Boston. Boston wins this series in 4 games. They're shutting them out. 4 games. Skunking them. Why? Florida's going to become overwhelmed. And I don't think Leo, he won't be able to handle it. Bobrovsky won't be able to handle it. Florida's D won't be able to handle it. They like that run and gun. Boston's just going to eat them alive. 4 games. That's it. That's all I need to say. Boom. 4 games. Going to crush them. So then let's go to Carolina and the New York Islanders. New York Islanders also say, oh, thank you very much, Pittsburgh, for choosing not to win. Carolina 113 points, New York Islanders 93 points. Season series, Carolina 3-1, New York Islanders 1-3. So, offense, Carolina, for sure. Even with injuries to Svechnikov, Pacioretty, Kasha, all three who would be in the lineup. Offensively, Carolina has it. Defensively, in my opinion, Carolina has it. Just barely, but Carolina has it. There's such more depth, in my opinion. Goaltending, Anderson has had a great year. Sorokin has had a down year, but a better year. I don't know how it's a down year. He's phenomenal. Goaltending goes to New York Islanders for sure. So who do I pick? Now, remember in the Winnipeg and Vegas series, I said Winnipeg would win one game because of goaltending, but Vegas would just end up winning because they're the better team. Carolina's the better team here. On paper, Carolina's the better team. Regular season, they're a better team. Season series, a better team. So why am I picking the New York Islanders in 7 games? Well, Sorokin is going to eat the souls of the Carolina Hurricanes. They're going to feel just so snake bitten. Why can't we beat this guy? And then the Islanders are just going to go into a shell. And it's just going to be deafening. And it's going to be boring. And Carolina's going to get just frustrated. And they, of course, they're going to win their games. But they're going to give up a lead in Game 7. And the New York Islanders are just going to be like Chelsea did when they won the Champions League way back. They're going to put everyone behind, basically just in front of the net and say, good freaking luck. I have New York Islanders upsetting Carolina in 7 games. Let's stick with this because we'll do the Leafs, which I am not biased to at all, last. So New Jersey, New York Rangers. New Jersey, 112 points. New York Rangers, 107 points. Season series, 3-0-1 for New Jersey. 1-2-1 for the New York Rangers. And I think that's going to be the biggest decision by me. It's based on their season series, so I'm going to be honest with you. Offense, split. The first line, if you look at the projected first line, you're like, wow, it's Zibanejad, Panarin, Kane. Whoa. Then you got Tarasenko and them in the second line with Trocheck, and then you got the kid line. But then New Jersey, you're like, wow, that big acquisition of Myers playing the third line. But you got he's playing with Sharon Govich, who I think is a decent player. He's bred for the playoffs, just like Meyer. Hughes is going to be there and wanting to do something big. You got the younger Hughes. Maybe he gets into the lineup as well. Make up for the World Juniors when he buggered that up. Just being too cocky there. Not in the NHL, though he did look like that in overtime when he scored that goal. That was pretty cool. But I have offensively split. Defensively split. Both teams are really good. Goaltending, New York Rangers. Shesterkin. Vanacek, I think he tied for the most wins in the NHL this season. But Shesterkin, you can't count him out. Remember what he did against Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh had the series and he just said, nope. Nope. We ain't going home. This time they will go home in the first round. I've got the New Jersey Devils winning in 7 games. So if you look at my first round, I have all of the favorites winning so far, except for the New York Islanders. So that brings me to Toronto versus Tampa Bay. Because who's the favorite? Technically, Toronto, 111 points versus Tampa's 98 points. Though, Tampa Bay took the first part of the season off. They definitely took the last part of the season off, where they were horrible. But were they just biding themselves some time before the playoffs? Season series, Toronto 2-0-1 versus Tampa's 1-2. Offensively, if you look at it, you had like Kucherov over 100 points. Point had over 50 goals, 95 points. I think Stamkos had 85 points. Hagel, 67, so a new career high for him. Then you flip over to Toronto and you're like, oh, no 100-point players, but Marner, 99. Nylander, 87. Matthews, did he have 85? Maybe I got Stamkos mixed up. But Matthews and Nylander both got 40 goals. Matthews had a down year, remember? But he's starting to heat up. Tavares had a point per game. Offensively, I think Toronto takes it. If you look at the lineups and you see that Kucherov-Stamkos point as line number 1, cool. So you're matching up against Bunting, Matthews, and Marner. Who's taking JT, Nylander, and Jarnkrok? Okay, Hagel's line, okay. So that means you're going to have Ryan O'Reilly playing against Nick Paul, or maybe if Zach Castanarice ends up out of the lineup and you actually have Matt Nyes playing somewhere there on the third line with O'Reilly and Achari. Or does Achari go down? You have O'Reilly, Kerfoot, and Nyes. Does Nyes go up? There's so many options for Toronto. Their offensive depth, again, like let's say if Lafferty's injured, maybe even as well. Like that fourth line, I think I would take Toronto's fourth line versus Maroon, Perry, and Bellemare. And people would be like, no, they do all this stuff. I don't think in their own zone. I think if they get it down low and they can do their cycle and be a nuisance, yeah, Tampa Bay does really well with them. They got to get there first. If that fourth line can pin Tampa Bay, I think they can get a few goals because Toronto's fourth line, much better than Tampa Bay's. Toronto's third line, second line, better than Tampa Bay's. First line, wash, in my opinion. So offensively, I'm going to Toronto. Defense, I put split, though I am leaning towards Toronto. And the reason I'm doing this is because Toronto has so many options, and Toronto was better defensively this year. They gave up less goals. They scored more goals and gave up less goals. They had a better goal differential. Toronto was the better team this year. Defensively, they were the better team this year. However, Hedman in the playoffs. Sergachev is the stud of the team now. And you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to go defense split. And then you go goaltending, which this is the same kind of thing. Technically, Toronto's goaltending was better than Tampa Bay's. Now, let's say we're not looking at the backups. Joseph Woll right now would be the backup. He crushes Brian Elliott. Hell, Matt Murray, who's injured, crushes Brian Elliott. He had like a 3.4 goals against average, and who knows an 800 save percentage. Vasilevsky, a down year for him, is less than Samsonov. I think Samsonov's at a 919. Don't quote me. I haven't actually looked at the stats there. I don't have it on the sheet of paper. But if I can remember correct, Samsonov has a better save percentage than Vasilevsky. However, it's Andrei Vasilevsky. He's got a shutout in like 6 of the last 7 game 7s. The guy's nuts. So you have to give the goaltending to Tampa Bay, even though technically Toronto had better goaltending this year. Am I talking myself out of my pick? No, I'm not. No. My thing is always a question mark, right? So Toronto was the better team throughout the year, probably offensively, defensively, and goaltending. But Tampa Bay has a track record of winning and coming up big in the playoffs. Toronto has a track record of just being submissive and just losing. Though last year they had a great series. Justin Hall and your little pick. It happens all game, every sixth shift. And you called that one because it definitely was. But it sucks that you called it, but you should probably call it every game. I'm just mumbling now. It's frustrating last year, but it's a new year. It's 2023, and Toronto's not going to lose in 7 games. I'm not even predicting anywhere near a game 7. So I'm picking Toronto in 5. Toronto Maple Leafs will beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 5 games in the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah, there we go. It's my Stanley Cup playoff preview. There's my predictions for round 1. I can go through my round 2s and 3s and 4s, but I'll do that later. This is just round 1. Let's just focus on this. These guys here, yeah, I'm biased as hell because the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're going to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 5 games. Hell, they're going to win the bloody Stanley Cup. No, they're going to beat Connor McDavid to do so. They're going to take up, I guess I'm doing my whole thing now. We're going for it. Toronto's going to beat Boston in round 2. So they're going to beat Tampa in 5 games. Then they're going to beat Boston in round 2. The New York Islanders, who are going to beat Carolina in round 1, they're going to beat the New Jersey Devils in round 2 as well. So we're going to get a conference final of Toronto as the home team. They get home ice advantage against the New York Islanders. And then in the West, right, you got the Avalanche, and they're going to go through. Avalanche are going to beat the Stars in round 2. So they make it to the conference finals there. The Oilers are going to beat Vegas, so they're going to make the conference finals. So then we have Avs-Oilers again. This time you got Tavares in the hatred-filled arena and environment of New York, with Toronto fans going there cheering them on, and there's battles in the stands. You're going to have Toronto versus New York Islanders, and Toronto's going to win that series to go to the Stanley Cup final. And then the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid says, not this year. And he is going to go head-to-head with Nate McKinnon. It's going to be huge. Ekholm's going to shut down McKinnon in Game 7. And Edmonton's going to move on the back of Stuart Skinner. Not just Jack Campbell. No, it's going to be Stuart Skinner for Edmonton versus Toronto in the finals. This is what I predicted last year. I'm going to predict it again. It's Edmonton versus Toronto this time. You got Canada versus Canada, and Toronto is going to stop McDavid from winning the Stanley Cup because Toronto will be your 2023 Stanley Cup champions. Is it biased? Hell yes, it is. Am I putting that out into the world because I want it to happen? Hell yeah, I am. But I genuinely feel it. This is the year. Toronto defeats Tampa Bay in 5 games. They defeat Boston. So they slay the beast. They beat the Islanders. And then they beat the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. So I guess this is my Stanley Cup playoff preview, prediction, and Leaf biased rant all in one. Comment down below what you think. I'm sure there are going to be lots of dislikes on this, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the playoffs. Get those playoff beards growing, and take care. Go Leafs, go.